Okay, I think we are set up. So, hello. So, I was just going to start with the last of the Ateez theories. So then we'll be done with that.
All right.
But so we're going to watch that, and this one is long, so we might actually break it up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So do
maybe
a little
watch
bit of the
part
theory
of
and
it.
then watch. I think you had a performance for me to watch.
Yeah,
And just kind of go in and out of the. Okay.
Yep. So, did I make sure that we have? Yes.
Oh, it's on auto.
Is it? Oh yeah. I don't like when it tries to switch in and out, but it is English subtitles.
It is English. Okay.
Okay, so we'll start this and see how far we get, and then. Actually, we can skip the beginning because it's the same intro.
Will you join us?
Ateez have now gone through a long way in the timeline of the New World. After successfully leaving the desert of Episode 1, they were halted shortly in their progression during Illusion, but started moving forward in time again with Wave. As they have advanced within time and space, they now find themselves at the other side of the Mobius stripe from where they started. It's the beginning of the end.
She said she hadn't seen these. We're on part 3, unfortunately, already. There's a lot, but they're really good videos. So the person's name is Taya, if you ever need to just find it. Yeah.
They're really in depth. They're really good.
Yeah, she has a lot of really good information.
Treasure episode Finn, All to Action. Arriving at the other side of the Mobius stripe means both that Ateez are getting closer to the supposed end of their journey, but also that they are now on the side of this world from which Ateez came from. As such, the reverse space that could only be accessed through mirrors and reflections in semi-name is now the place Ateez have stepped a foot in. Wonderland. In the music video for Wonderland, we are presented with two different Ateez. On one side, the regular Ateez were all separated in their own sets, with styles that contrast each other in a way that highlights their individuality. On the other side, we have a second Ateez, Ateez, who are characterized by their use of black uniforms and a different flag that is unlabeled. It is difficult to point out if Ateez are the masters of this new lands, but Wonderland seems to imply that they have a certain level of authority within it.
So obviously we know that it's a little different than she said.
Because this was before some of the more recent albums came out.
This is only after Fever 1 came out, so all the information through the rest of Fever and into the new...
She wasn't aware of any of it yet.
But still, a lot of these theories are really good, so obviously they don't have authority, but yeah, Ateez is recognizable by their use of black. They wear all black. This one just happens to be military looking, but...
While Ateez seem to be emotionally scattered and appear vulnerable in their individual sets, Ateez are together and are accompanied with legends. Despite this, there doesn't seem to be a direct conflict between the two groups, unlike it was in Semi-Name. Instead, the lyrics almost sound like Ateez are encouraging Ateez to push forward on their journey. In a Blue Room Twitter Live interview, Ateez revealed that although the place Ateez arrives at in Wonderland is considered by the people who live there an utopia, to them it is a dystopia. Judging from this statement, as well as the lyrics of Wonderland, this place is the one they had been looking for all along, but as they find it, they realize it's nothing like the dreams they were holding on to. Instead of finding peace, and most importantly, freedom, they find themselves in this place where Ateez seem powerful enough to command their own army. A dark and violent place which makes them feel trapped. Following the original theory of the Mobius ribbon, the reason why Wonderland is such a dark place might be because Ateez have reached the opposite of the Mobius stripe, meaning the world they were in at the beginning has been turned upside down. So if in Treasure they started off in a bright place, they are now at its opposite end on the Mobius stripe, a dark place, unlike what they wanted to find. But while it seems to be an unfortunate discovery, it is rather in fact that the true nature of the new world is being revealed to them. In the story of Alice in Wonderland, Alice is a child who escapes the boredom of the real world by following a rabbit into a fantastic world filled with magic and wonders. However, it quickly turns out that this Wonderland is twisted with madness, and it becomes difficult to say whether it is a dream or a nightmare. This duality is expressed in the intro of the song, in which Ongjong's rap defines their utopia as both the dream and fear of many. The new world, as we can deduce, is Ongjong's dream in which he brought the others to live happily ever after. In this story, he is the white rabbit of Ateez, who brought them into the Wonderland. But just like in the story, this world is twisted by his own crumbling sanity and the desire his friends have to leave this place. If in Treasure and Waves the new world was a bright place which resembles the real world, in Wonderland it's dark and none of the individual sets seem to correspond to anything that truly exists.
Though San does look like Alice standing in the field of
He really
flowers.
does. He really does.
That's when you think of Wonderland and you see that scene. That's the
one of
first
the-
thing
yeah.
I thought.
The infinite stairs Drongo and the other are seen climbing, notably, make a point in highlighting the lack of sense and growing insanity of their journey. But their journey follows the path of the Mobius ribbon, which makes it impossible for them to walk back. As long as time moves forward, so must Ateez. In the music video, we see Ateez walk towards a giant door. What lies beyond is hidden by the strong light emitting off it, but my assumption is this is the place where they'll finally learn the truth about the new world as well as about themselves. Indeed, this door is referred as the Door of Truth twice in this album, once in Wonderland and once in Dazzling Light.
Yeah, I still don't understand the door because obviously that has nothing to do with like the World Series, Gorilla. And
Oh, yeah.
so that's just one of those things, and maybe she's right. It is called the Door of Truth, so I don't know.
Maybe it's something that we just haven't seen
Yep.
yet. Door of Truth, is it?
We can see that the members are also more and more aware that they are locked in a dream through the many visual symbolism of imprisonment that are used in their individual sets. In many of them, the members are seen to be stuck in closed-off spaces. It creates a claustrophobic feeling and makes it apparent that they are yearning to break out of the dream they're locked in. Ongjong, to their opposite, shows the power he has within the new world in the way his set is arranged. A chair draped in red, resembling a throne on which he's sitting proudly, while still holding the compass he used in Wave and Illusion. Even though he can't fully control the way the dream is turning out to be, he still seems to have a strong hold on it and the members.
That's the Studio Tune version of Wonderland. I need to show you that too.
There's a few things in Studio Tube you said you need to share.
yeah,
Oh,
so much.
Thanks to it, he's even able to restrain Hoo-young, binding him physically to make sure he's unable to escape or lead the members away with him. This is the most extreme decision he has taken yet, and it shows that Ongjong is growing desperate, probably already aware that Hoo-young won't give up on living the dream. Just like Peter Pan can be cruel and punish the Lost Boys harshly when he deems it necessary, Eun shows here that he's willing to hurt the members to keep the dream going.
You see the
Starting
choreo
from
telling.
Wonderland, it will be more and more evident that his character is unstable, and sometimes dangerous in the story.
Even though he looks
But
cute.
Eun isn't the only force at play in this dream. Starting from Wonderland, Ateez's presence can be clearly felt through the album, which reads by moments like a discussion between them and Ateez. Dazzling Light, Mist. The first song to follow Wonderland in Treasure EP Finn is the best example for the conversational aspect of this album. Dazzling Light explores deeper the fear and confusion that is felt by Ateez during the events of Wonderland. Disappointed to figure their so-called utopia is nothing like they had wished, they turn to question their other selves, Ateez, who bears their faces and might realize more than they do about the world. Unlike what their relationship felt like in Semi-Name, there is no animosity to be heard towards Ateez in this song. Rather than that, a mix of fascination and despair to understand oneself. Indeed, it seems that through their repetitive meeting, Ateez are beginning to link the mystery of their true identity to the one of their final destination. This final destination which, as they realize in Wonderland, might still lay ahead of them or might not even exist at all. As we can see here, this album also contains a lot of callbacks to the beginning of the story. The promise here might refer to the one made to each other in episode 2 and Diary Film.
They do a lot of that. They'll use choreography from one thing into another.
To kind of link them together.
It's really cute. So that was the song Promise, and they did the pinky swear thing, and then they did it.
Where they swore to keep going together without a defeat. The more we'll move closer to the end of the Mobius, the more references to the beginning of the story, the songs, MVs, and choreographies will have as the ribbon loops to the starting point. This following line in particular seems to be hinting at the impending time loops they are heading towards. Up until this album, the light Ateez have been following was a source of inspiration, something that comforted them and brought them the determination to push forward. This light was their utopia, a distant dream which called for them from afar and symbolized the possibility of freedom and happiness. Now, however, it has turned it into the eerie symbol of the goal they cannot reach. Although stricken with delusion, their promise to stay together holds true until whichever ending they are bound to encounter. Instead of answers, it's comfort they seek in each other, something that's well expressed in the following song, Mist.
I love this song so much.
If Dazzling Light still maintains that determined, yearning feeling that has been driving Ateez through their journey, Mist is a free dive into the anxiety they had been trying to suppress until then. This anxiety symbolically takes the form of a heavy mist that prevents them from seeing the path they must take, further confusing Ateez on where their journey is leading them. But Ateez have no choice but to carry on. so they turn to seek reassurance in each other while expressing regrets that things have to be this way. The song ends with the phrase "before the sun is rising up" being repeated over and over again, which could be interpreted as an hopeful plea for the sun to light up their clouded path. This said, the sun rising up also means the start of a new day, and thus the end of a night where all dreams end. And for Ateez, the end of their dream would mean not only the end of their journey, but also the possibility of being separated.
That's right.
Win. Miss is followed by the interlude Precious, Overture, which happens to be a remix version of the full-length track Precious in Epilogue. Although most of its lyrics are written up by the remix, we can still make Mingri's rap out.
It's so funny that the remixed version, the overture version, is on the album before the actual song. Because it's on
It's almost like a preview.
Action to Answer, yeah. It's interesting.
That is.
Like the 3 previous songs, it clearly hints at the end of the road, opening to a new beginning that had already been lived through many times. But Precious, Overture, has none of the fear and hesitation the B-side covered before expressed. Instead, the shortened version of the track can be seen as a moment Ateez shrugs off their anxieties to keep on advancing resolutely. In contrast to the fragility of Mist and Dazzling Light, Win is a victorious song proclaiming Ateez's insatiable desire to move forward and win over anything they'll encounter, even though they are not lacking a reason to do so.
It's my favorite choreo.
I know, I love that.
In Win, the absence of a clear path is presented with excitement. Even though they have no more goal to their journey, no more utopia to pursue, they have found that they can only go ahead and thus decide to throw their caution and doubts away. This song even directly links with the celebrations of Answer, serving as a missing piece between the harsh battles of Wonderland and the joyous victory of Answer. It is important to point out that Win is one of their B-sides, which seems highly likely to be one of Ateez's songs rather than their own.
Oh.
Like Wonderland, the outfit they wore for Win's music band
not have thought of it that way.
performance had that uniform look which has been established as a characteristic of Ateez through Hala Hala. Besides, it would explain why there is such a huge gap between the victorious declaration of Win and the anxious hesitation of the other B-sides presented earlier. As for the last 4 songs of the album, they seem to focus back on Ateez's emotion with softer melodies. Because Thank You and Sunrise seem to have little correlation with their lore, and have allegedly been written to be about the members' real life, I have decided to put them aside.
The lyrics to Sunrise are really beautiful, so we should really look into that.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've read the lyrics to those.
This leaves us with 2 ballads, which serve to close this long album's storyline. If Without You, With You, I'm Walking. If Without You is an adequate follow-up to Win's mindless ecstasy. The song tells about someone making the world worth living in a weightless, almost silly tone. Just like Win, It offers a stark contrast to the anxious feeling we could get out of Dazzling Light and Mist. Indeed, this song seems to reflect Ateez's affection toward each other when they're free of their worries. It reminds heavily of songs like Illusion or Twilight, with its sweet tone and surrealistic vision of happiness. On the contrary, With You, I'm Walking is a much sadder song which mixes tenderness, regret, and a desire to stay with that special person who makes the world better. The tone is ambiguous, as it seems to express both the blissfulness of being with that person and the regret for what was before, while If Without You focuses on the present moment, With You constantly refers to the past. Considering what we can tell of the story, this song could very well represent Eunjung's feeling towards the members. Although he can be together with them within the dream, he's aware that they've lost what they had in the real world. More so, Eunjung is likely the only one who remembers the time they shared back then, which he feels nostalgic about despite still being with the members. These lines reflect Eunjung's thoughts in his diary story, where he laments about being all alone again. Although all the members miss the time they spent together, the idea of having nothing left after the separation is very specific to Eunjung's story. Additionally to being a song about memories, With You delve on the topic of time and on the way Ateez experiences it. In the movie Inception, mere seconds in the real world could be several years deep down the realm of dreams. If Eunjung's reason for taking the members inside of the new world was to avoid the passing of time, which would have let them become adults and part ways, then the word moment takes a whole other meaning. Instead of being purely metaphorical, this part of the song becomes an echo to their situation of being still in time, and their longing for a moment which could last forever. This is especially true if this song is supposed to reflect Eunjung's feeling, as he has been insistent on delaying the journey's ending as much as possible through the albums. The song concludes with a single request, repeated over and over again. This gentle plea to remember the feeling of a shared instant betrays its fragility. There's something akin to desperation here, the need to preserve the trace of something even if only through memories. Interpreting this song together with what we suspect of Eunjung's character gives it an even sadder meaning, as there is a possibility he's the only one to remember the previous timelines and to know how this will all come to an end. As such, the song will be a last request to his members not to forget the precious time they spent together, a request that is made knowing the timeline is coming to a close. And Eunjung is correct because the next song that follows is the one of a match being lit up in the dark of the night.
Open your eyes. that a good place to
Beginning of
pause?
the end.
Yeah.
We're almost half through it.
Yeah. That's been a lot of it. So, yeah. That's
Oh my
good.
goodness. I love how she really digs in and shows you the lyrics and the images in the video that support where she came up with these ideas and how
Yeah.
it all ties in.
Oh, yes. So
Mirrors the name of the first track on the album.
let's go back just a tiny bit.
Beginning of the End mirrors the name of the first track on the album in the same way Ateez mirrors their Black Fedora selves, and ends with a snippet of the next album title track, Answer. But this match that we hear at the beginning reveals more of the stories than anything else on the track. As we
I do love when, specifically them, but I know I've heard others do it too, parts of songs are mixed in with the other. Like you pointed that out to me before,
Yeah.
where they pull from other songs and have pieces like at the beginning or even from different albums.
Yep.
And I love when they do pull in like that.
Or the little clues that they give at the end, and sometimes they're like albums and albums later.
Mm-hmm. Or, you know, like they're talking about here, it's just something as simple as the strike of a match, something that makes sense later.
Yep.
saw in previous videos, fire is associated with change, rebirth, and Ateez themselves. So it's no hazard the track closing this album and teasing epilogue begins this way. The fire which burns no quietly will spread, and that single match is but a warning of the destruction that is to come.
God, it sounds haunting like that.
Epilogue, action to answer. Even though epilogue comes after all to action, the two albums seem to take place very closely, if not at the same time of the story. According to Ongjong, Answer was even originally planned to be a B-side on EP Fin, which further solidifies that it closely follows the event of Wonderland. As Ateez decides to go beyond the dystopian world of Wonderland, they reach the limit between the end of the Möbius ribbon and its beginning. It's at the crossing of these two space-times that the final stage of Treasure Era takes place. The epilogue of Ateez's long journey, Answer. Answer. On base level, Answer is a celebratory song where both Ateezes get to drink together as they look back on the journey they have just completed. As the story's epilogue, the song is a nostalgic anthem with many references to their previous albums and music videos.
I just have to say, that is by far one of my favorite videos of theirs.
Answer.
I love
Yes.
that video. It is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And so every time I see them start playing little clips of it, I'm just like, sorry.
A song of celebration, however, implies success or victory over something, and as we've observed through Wonderland, Ateez seem to have failed to reach the utopia they hoped to find. Besides, they have also realized that Ateez are not antagonistic to them, so Answer isn't the celebration of winning over them either. Rather, it's over themselves that Ateez have been victorious. They have surpassed their fears and have grown as individuals enough not to fear the new world anymore.
And just think how many songs they actually reference. The burning sun and waves.
yeah.
Not just like, that's because that's in Win as well. They talk about, I mean, it's the same thing, the howling winds and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. But
This growth is also and especially signified through their understanding of their own selves, which is represented by the acceptance of Ateez. Since the story started, the two groups were always presented as opposed forces, which questions the morality of Ateez's other selves and position them as the designated villains of the story. However, as we've seen in the 2 previous videos, Ateez seems to bear no evil intentions later on, and it's even implied in the Ode to Joy version of Answer that they originally helped Ateez in Say My Name. In the VCR for Ateez's comeback stage of Answer, Ateez asks Ateez, "Are you evil?" To which the man in black fedora replies appropriately with another question, "Are you good?"
So that's also another interesting thing, which I would love to show you the DVDs of the concerts. That's one of the VCRs. Like, you remember at the concert how they had
the little
videos? That's stuff like that. It's even in the
Oh.
concerts. Like, you have to take like all of these little clues that they give throughout everything.
I don't know how anybody keeps up with the storylines, especially of multiple groups. I have no clue. Yeah. This gets so complex.
It does.
Both are left without a response, but this exchange is enough to hint at the answer. Neither Ateez nor Ateez are fully good or evil, as they are different faces of the same coin. And it's only through accepting both sides that Ateez can finally grow and progress, which seems to be the implication when San stands in the middle of the table at the end of the VCR. While both groups were sitting opposite to each other with evocative black and white outfits, it suddenly cut to San sitting in the middle of the table with a sand-colored outfit. As it does, the background lighting turns to red and his hair itself mixes both black and white with a segment dyed at the front. Those visual keys show that Answer is a song about both Ateez and Ateez coming together and accepting each other. This way, they get their first answer. By understanding themselves, they finally learn who they truly are.
And obviously that's Kingdom, so...
I can't wait to finish the watch
Because
Kingdom.
Answer is, as the title implies, a song about getting answers. And there are 3 big questions which have been concerning the group since the beginning of Treasure Era. 1. Who are they? And by extension, who are their other selves? 2. Where are they? 3. And finally, where and why are they going? The first question is answered at the meeting with Ateez, but the 2 following answers are given in more ambiguous ways. It seems that the choreography hints at the members realizing the reality of the world around them, as we can see Songhwa removing the hand covering his eyes. This gesture could bear a double meaning. On one hand, it could represent a refusal to have the truth hidden from you through rejecting the illusion which covers the world you see. On the other hand, uncovering your eyes to open them reminds of the act of waking up. Either interpretation implies a revelation of the world's nature has taken place, which is why we can assume the member of Ateez also gets the answer to the question as to where they are. This revelation makes sense as the 2 previous albums already brought them to suspect that they were lost within a dream. Having learned this, it's easier for them to find the answer to the 3rd question by themselves. If this place is not real, if it's only a dream without sense, then there is no destination for them to reach. While reliving, it's a bittersweet answer for Ateez to receive. An answer captures this bittersweetness with its melancholic tune. The melody is soulful, and the members are filmed in lonely individual shots in which there were nostalgic expressions. The lyrics don't solely call for celebrations either. In fact, they are reminiscent of Wonderland in the way they mix a certain ecstasy of power with the threat of fire and destruction, coming into great contrast with the joyful atmosphere of the chorus. Eunjung's rap here seems to warn of the dreadful destruction that is about to take place. Destruction which we know took place soon after the dinner scene in Answer, as the music video closes with a strange masked figure walking in the ruins of the fancy rooms the 2 groups were celebrating in.
And the newest comeback have you noticed they're in the same room? There's the chandelier and stuff in the, like, if you look in the background images to some of the teaser, like, images and stuff.
No, I didn't.
It still has the chandelier. It's supposed to be like the same setting. Yeah, so
Oh my god.
it's just an interesting little tidbit there. So you'll have to look at that.
This masked figure was revealed in Fever Part 2 to be one of the white androids sent after Ateez to get back the chroma they stole. Due to the necessity to finish this video series, I will not be going into details about them, but I want to point out that Ode to Joy implied that part of the reason why Ateez and Ateez joined hands was to fight the white androids together. In answer, however, the white android seems too late to face off the two groups when it arrives. The place is already in ruins, and two groups have already left. This shot isn't the only thing implying that destruction took place at the end of Answer. Around this same time, the set design for Ateez's Mama stage and the Answer comeback stages both show a world that is being destroyed in flames. This destruction is again reminiscent of the movie Inception, where a dream can start falling apart when its subject either realizes they are dreaming or decides that they want to wake up. As such, it might have been Ateez's own fault that the world gets destroyed at the end of Answer. Now that they know they are stuck in a pointless dream, the desire to wake up from it would logically result in the new world crumbling apart. In fact, it's Ateez themselves who call for the fire in both Wonderland and Answer. Like we established in the thematic segment, fire is oftentimes associated with change, and in Ateez's case, it specifically is a metaphor for growing.
So pause that a second, hang on. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
Just like the Lost Boys ended up fleeing Neverland to become adults, it's Ateez's very own need to grow, which ends up being the demise of the new world. But while the world goes to flame, another mechanic of Ateez's universe is in the process of changing their fate. Because at the same time as the member finally gets their answers, time still ticks, and it brings them now to the inescapable outcome of the Mobius ribbon. Horizon. As Sunrise and Thank You were more personal songs, Star 1117 is a fan tribute which appears to have little correlation to the lore. As such, we will be skipping it, and consider the three other tracks as the conclusion of Treasure Era. Horizon and Precious both seem to happen at the very same time as Answer does. However, unlike in former albums, the songs not only give an expansion on the members' feelings, but also serve to narrate what might have happened right after and during Answer. Within dream symbolism, the horizon holds many meanings. As the horizon is where the sun is seen to set and rise, it can be associated with the hope for a new beginning. But the horizon being the line beyond which you can't see, it can also represent the limit of what you comprehend of the physical world. And in the case of dreams, the farthest you can see is also the limit of the world itself, as it only exists within your own imagination. A clever use of the horizon's symbolism would be Andrew Nichols' The Truman Show, where the protagonist Truman has lived all of his life in a fake city that he believes to be the real world. It's only when he decides to try and see what's beyond the horizon that he discovers the limit of his fake world, and thus, the entire lie that has been his life so far. Just like Truman, the members of Ateez want to break through the false realities they have been unknowingly imposed with. And to do so, they have to reach the horizon of this world, which would here be the visual representation of the dream's borders. But the horizon also represents a place that's impossible to reach. It's beyond a human's grasp, and it always seems to stretch far ahead no matter how hard you try to get closer. Similarly to Answer, this song sounds nostalgic, and there's a certain feeling of desperation expressed within the choreography and the delivery of the lyrics. It's almost as if despite still fighting to move ahead, Ateez are now aware that it's a hopeless battle. Just like the edge of reality isn't something a human can grasp, it's impossible to go beyond what you can perceive, and it's impossible to imagine what lies after. Here, the end they wonder about is the end of the dream, the end of their journey which they thought they would reach as Answer closed. But this is where they were mistaken. There is no ending to the story, no ultimate destination. Because in a Mobius ribbon, the end meets with the beginning. In the final segment of the song, a strange phenomenon occurs.
This is so cool.
The choreography starts transforming into the one seen in Treasure, the very first song of the series. This is not a coincidence. Treasure is their starting point, the true beginning of their story. And despite trying to break free, Ateez are already in the process of being sent back to the beginning, as the law of the Mobius requires them to. If in Answer, Songwa uncovered his eyes to signify an awakening or a realization, Horizon ends with all the members covering their eyes again. Unknowing and powerless, this gesture shows them falling back into their original state of blissful ignorance.
모든 걸 다시 찾을 수 있을까?
Precious. If we take it that the order of the songs in Ateez's albums are chronological, Precious is the very last piece of the story told through Treasure era. As such, both the song and the performance are heavy in meaning, and every aspect of it is essential to understand Ateez's storyline and the way its world functions. The first noticeable thing about Precious is that the song ends on the very first note of Treasure. Considering all that we've been led to understand until now, this is a pretty straightforward way of establishing that the end of Precious leads to the beginning of Treasure. Therefore, this song represents the exact point when the end of the story meets its beginning, the moment when the loop happens and Ateez are sent back in time. This is confirmed by the concert performance of this song, where both Treasure and Precious were performed in a row to show their direct connection. But more than simply symbolizing this moment, Precious narrates the feelings and thoughts of the members as they experience this time loop. In fact, the lyrics of Precious at times read like a conversation between them and Ongjong, who takes an active role in the creation of this time loop. In this sense, Precious is the perfect climax for Treasure era, a story of back and forth between him and the members, building tension between the group's feeling and his own as they strive towards a common goal. The song starts with a low, haunting tune where a narrator speaks to a third party and refers to an intense yearning for something. This display of an unreasonable desire for something reminds of the song Desire from the second album. The somber tone is also reminiscent of Desire. In both songs, this yearning is something that is uncontrollable and potentially harmful. In the first video of this series, we had discussed the possibility that Desire could be a song from Ongjong's point of view, as it reflected his selfish need to have his friends by his side despite the danger it represented. Now, although the journey should have come to an end with the members trying to wake up, he's still yearning to continue the story at their own expense. The specific mention of a low voice implies that the narrator's recipient is male, thus surely someone else in the crew. If we take it that Ongjong is the point of view here, being kept from falling asleep could correlate with his awareness of the dream's nature. Here, the desire to find this undiscovered place comes back again. Even as Ongjong has already experienced the disappointment of their empty journey, he still craves for more, and hopes to find their perfect utopia with another try. Following that idea, the entire chorus of the song is sung by him alone the first time, and the chorus's lyrics expand on this feeling of insatiability. The repeating of the lyrics along with their deliveries gives the chorus a feeling of growing insanity, like the person singing is trying to reason themselves to stop, but are unable to do so. The choreography accentuates that feeling with the members dancing around Ongjong with frantic movements. Interestingly, the second chorus has him controlling the group, as if his own madness was influencing them as well. Ongjong's control and influence on the members is nothing new, as we have seen it already in Desire and various other choreographies. In their SMR rendition of Inception, you can even see him controlling the members like a puppet master. But despite the control he has on them, he now faces a pushback from his friends who question him directly on the fake nature of the new world. Unlike before, they know that they are being lied to, and their questions seem to have a more rhetorical nature to them, rather than a genuine need for answers. The bridge of the song even has them admitting their fear, a feeling they had already expressed in Mist. But the same way their doubts were pushed away in Illusion, that sentiment of fear is dismissed as strangeness. As San sings this line, the choreography has him struggling against the arms holding him back, which he frees himself from, as if symbolizing the members' attempts at breaking away. However, it seems like a lost battle when the last chorus hits, this time with all the members joining together with Ongjong, unable to escape his influence and his need to continue a story without a sense. At the end of that final explosive chorus, the first note of Treasure starts playing. Left alone by the members and having fallen on his knees, Ongjong's movements are weak and broken as he writes the name of his group on the sand, Ateez. While he does, the members start reuniting around him again, taking a position which mirrors the one from the very beginning. He has successfully rewinded the timeline and thus brought back his friends to him for yet another time. And so, as it had been announced in the first steps of the story, the Mobius ribbon created by his own reluctance brought them back to the beginning. having forgotten their past wounds, their true identities, as well as the reality of the place they are in, Ateez are now preparing to sail on their never-ending journey again. Hopeful for the future and unaware of the past, they dream of finding the utopia where they can be free, together and forever.
Yep.
I can't imagine how much time it took
For her to make these.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. She's got some excellent insight into it. Things that I might not have would have.
There's like a little note. I'm curious what it says. So I'll just let it play a little bit more. I don't remember. Wow. All the random.
Credits.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
Of course.
So,
Interesting.
that is,
So that catches us up through the end of.
So she showed a little bit of Fever Part 2, so it does have a little, but she didn't go to any of the songs. She only
Gotcha.
mentioned. So it's not including Fever Part 2, except for like a brief mention of the white androids.
Yeah.
That was
Which
pretty
she said
much.
she wasn't going to get into because,
Yeah.
she had to wrap up the series at some point.
And she never finished. I wish she would. There's only these 3. Like,
And how many albums have come out since then?
all of the rest of Fever. So Fever Part 2, she didn't cover. Part 3, and then Fever Epilogue, and then this new like the
Witness.
World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
World.
The World with the gorilla, and then the spinoff. Well, the spinoff is probably just that. It's going to tell like a side.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So